afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the mid-September edition of Topic Time with Harrison Young. As I did my theme music, you may have heard a little tambourine serenade going on in the background. It's because my guest, who is an unbelievably amazing artist, who's going to do a bust of me in a few minutes, was playing a tambourine. She's also a musician. We're going to get there in a minute, but first we've got to read these great underwriters. Got a few new ones tonight, and read them off, and we will, and then on we go with the show. So we got Western Carpet and Rugs in Norwell. We got Strawberry Fair Restaurant in Norwell at the corner of Routes 228 and 53. That's a new one. We got Wilson Shipping in Weymouth. That's a new one. We got Bay State Piano in Marshfield. That's a new one. We got Wicked Healthy Natural Foods and Supplements in Kingston. We got Vape Solutions in East Bridgewater. We got another new one, Way to Heaven in Norwell. We got Bohemian Babe Boho Chic Boutique in Marshfield, another new one. We got Good Old Dave's Automotive in Hanson on Route 58. We got Auto Restoration South Coast Customs in Hanson also. And we got Smoke and Ashes Tobacco Company also, Abington News in Abington, and they have stores in convenient locations in Abington, Whitman, Weymouth, and Hanson, and Pembroke. So I want to thank you guys very much. And now, this is one of the most unique shows I've ever done. This young lady here is Janice Corkum Rudolph. She's a sculptress. I guess you could say sculptress for lack of a better word. I don't know if it's a gender thing. What do you think, Janice?
Well, I call myself a sculptor.
Sculptor. Okay, then we'll go with sculptor. That's what she is.
But some people do say sculptress.
Okay. Well, I looked it up in the dictionary and I couldn't find sculptor, so we'll go with sculptor.
Sure.
It's a non-gender biased livelihood that you have, and that's great. And I got to tell you. We were connecting a little bit. She's a totally creative person in many ways. We're going to look at some of the stuff that she's done. And like I said, she's going to start doing a bust of me. And from the work she's done that I've seen, it's pretty authentic stuff. And I am totally delighted. I hope that, the old joke, if you look at the camera, you're going to break it. I hope doing a sculptor to me doesn't break the clay.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And if it does, it'll be worth it.
You look terrific to sculpt.
Just like christening a ship, right? Okay.
Right.
But first, we're going to talk to her tonight and find out what she's all about, because she has a very interesting history, and that's what we're going to cover, as like I do with all my guests. So, Janice, again, thanks for coming on and being with me on Topic Time tonight. But let's talk about your history. I want to know what you were like as a little kid, when you found out you had the talent that you do, and how you manifested it. And if I have any questions, I'll throw them at you. Let's start as far back as you can remember, where you grew up and how it ended up getting you where you're at.
Okay, my first 5 years of my life, I grew up in Hull.
Okay.
And then after
Hull, Mass. Yep.
And then I remember the hurricane.
Did Paragon Park exist then? You probably did, right?
It was we lived on N Street.
I know, the Alphabet Street. Alphabet Street.
Is the park there? I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, all right.
No, but I was too young anyhow.
Yeah, I understand.
But we had a wonderful hurricane. I thought it was so great because the refrigerator was floating in the basement.
Wow.
I thought it was the coolest thing I ever saw.
Okay.
At like 4 or whatever.
That's one way of looking at it.
I was born in 49, so
Okay.
you guys can figure out the math of when that storm was.
Right.
Because I don't remember the year. But then we moved to Brookline. We lived in Newton for a year while my parents were building a house in Brookline so they could supervise it.
Okay.
And when we moved to Brookline, I was going into 3rd grade, and my dad said, "There's a sculptor across the street." And I said, "Really? Where?" He said, "Over there in that house." So this was in 2nd grade going to 3rd, and I wanted to go over and meet him, and we became friends immediately.
Wow.
I was in 3rd grade. He was probably 40 at the time.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that seemed pretty old to me, but it didn't matter.
Of course not. I mean, artists inspire each other regardless of the age difference.
Right. And so actually, I probably wasn't in 3rd grade, but maybe when I was in 4th grade, I fixed his bandsaw. He had like a bandsaw.
What is a bandsaw?
It's a saw it's an electric saw.
Okay.
And it looks like a big band of sandpaper.
Okay.
Going
around
in a circle. And it wasn't lined up properly. And so I fixed it for him. So after that, I was really, always welcome in his studio. I mean, I always was welcome. And it was interesting because I grew up in parents who grew up my dad was very, very poor, and he was one of 6 children, started selling newspapers at the age of 10.
Okay.
And he
During
was
the
from
Depression, no doubt.
Dorchester, and then he enlisted in the war and became a flying tiger. And he became very well known and renowned when he returned from the war. And then also he was around many educated people, and he just absorbed everything, learned a lot. And he started several different businesses and ended up doing really well, having a company that's still family run in Hudson, Mass, called Entwistle.
Wow, I know that. I know that area. I know Hudson, and I think I've been by there. I may have sold a book at their establishment, your establishment.
And I loved my dad and all of his advice, and my mom. I had wonderful parents, and but I also loved Peter Abate. But it was such a contrast.
That's your sculptor neighbor you're talking about.
The sculptor neighbor,
Yeah.
Peter Abate. He was from Beverly, Mass.
Okay.
His parents were from Italy, and his father was a gravestone carver.
Okay.
And
Doing it by hand is definitely an art form, I'd
Sure.
say. Yeah.
And he grew up, he was poor. Whenever my mother would collect for like the Cancer Society, whatever, she would say, don't ask Peter for money. Because he lived in a house that was donated by a man named Sears. I forget if it was John Sears, but one of the Sears from Boston.
Sears, like the
Sears
department store?
and Roebuck or something.
Okay.
Because he had taught the man how to sculpt.
Okay.
So he donated him this garage on a very nice property in Brookline. And we knew that he had very little money. And my dad used to say, why is he building his house up with bricks? He should be making sculptures, because that was his talent. But of course he had to do it because he couldn't afford to hire anybody.
Okay.
But anyhow, so I grew up with his influence, like the old Italian poor influence and creative, and then with my parents' influence. And I was influenced by both, and it was very life is very fascinating to me, because
It is.
I hear both points of view all the time.
Yep.
When I'm working, I hear Peter's voice all the time, my mentor. And when I'm doing other things, I hear my dad giving me advice.
Cool.
And then I hear my mother saying, I know you'll make the right decision, dear.
Okay, so I take it your parents got along well.
Yeah,
Good.
they did. They were very happy.
That's great.
And anyway, so my parents always encouraged me to do art, and I played piano. And the only thing they didn't encourage me to do, which I chose to do, was play violin.
Why?
Well, I did play. They said, and I started to play.
And your husband is a violin teacher,
My
correct?
husband is he's a professional violinist.
Yeah.
And he's concert master at the Rivers Music Conservatory in Weston.
Wow.
And first violinist. He plays in other orchestras, and he's very much in demand. He's played at over 1,000 weddings in Newport, Rhode Island. He has an agent from
That's
Newport.
the high rent district.
I'm a good wedding crasher, because I pretend I'm a guest. I like to go with him sometimes. I get dressed up, and he's one of the musicians. So
Well, I got to tell you, based on what I've seen so far after meeting you, I'd say that no wedding could be as colorful as it would be when you were there, if you were there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Even if you weren't
of you.
invited.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Oh, I'm called like I see it.
Okay. So anyhow, when I was taking violin, I was practicing next to the piano, and my parents said, "Oh dear, could you please play in your room?" And I said, "Sure." So I practiced in my room, and then they said, "Could you please practice with the doors shut?" I said, "Sure." And then like a week later, they said, "Oh dear, could you please stop your violin lessons?" I said, "Sure."
Well, who played the piano in the
I
house?
did.
You did.
And my mother did, and my sister. We all
Okay.
played piano.
So let me get this straight. Your parents were okay with the piano, but not the violin.
Right.
Okay.
At least
Why?
not
Because
my quality.
They felt that you didn't feel that you didn't have the,
I didn't. There's
the
nothing.
ability to play
There's
the violin
nothing
as
different.
well.
There's nothing harder to hear than somebody trying to
I
play
don't
the
discord now on a
violin.
violin, right?
It's the worst noise.
Yeah, it's true.
And
Should
anyway,
have taken lessons from Larry
when
Fine of the Three Stooges.
I never saw that.
I figured you didn't. That's why I thought of it. But that's okay. Go ahead.
But when I was engaged to my husband, I said, "Could you just teach me around like Frere Jacques, and we can play it together?"
Okay.
I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do the fingering and the strings. And I said, "I see what my parents meant," But I still play piano. I've played for over 50 years.
Wow.
And I have a piano teacher who is 27 now, and he started his own band. He actually left JP.
Well, he wasn't around when you started, obviously.
Oh, no.
Right.
I had another piano teacher when I started, Harvey Sachs. He was wonderful.
Okay.
He actually was a piano bar player at Cornetta's Iron Horse on Route 1.
What town? What
And
city?
it's on the way to Canton.
Oh, okay. Route 1. Oh,
Route
okay.
1.
It's probably in the south. Okay, south of Boston, like maybe Milton.
Right.
Well, I don't know about Milton. I don't
Something
think Route 1
like that.
goes through
But he was
Dedham,
terrific.
maybe.
And he taught my mother, my sister, and me. And we never had any conflict. So when I think of it now, we all practiced. My mother never said practice. We never had any problem like who's playing when. We just all played when we felt like
That's great.
practice.
A
It was-
family of artists can hold a road better than a family of discordant fools screaming at each other.
Sure.
I just made that up.
That's okay.
Thanks. Anyway.
So anyhow, but my first love is really sculpture.
Okay.
And it's on my mind all the time.
Well, tell you what. While we're
Oh, yeah.
talking, why don't you're going
Right.
to do a bust of me.
I'm going to do a
This is
bust of
something no one has
Harrison.
ever, in all the time I've been doing Topic Time, in all the 9 years and nearly month long I've been doing the show, has anyone ever said, agreed to
Or volunteered.
volunteered or put out the notion that they were going to create a bust of me, a likeness of me, which is something I'm always skeptical about, but after seeing what you've created, I'm not skeptical anymore. So let's see how you do it.
We'll see how I do
love
it.
the color you're using. It's certainly perfect.
This is terracotta.
Okay,
Terracotta, it's dirt of the earth or something like that.
okay,
And I like this clay, although I use several different types of clay.
okay,
And this is called an armature.
okay,
If I were doing a figure, even a life-size figure, I would have an armature that would be more this thick, the arms and legs, and it would be like a stick figure.
You're going to make me look like King Louis VIII, the 16th,
Now, I'm
after
going to
he's,
make you
after
look
he's
like
beheaded, right?
I'm going to make you look like yourself.
Okay.
So I'm putting the clay. The thing about the armature is that it holds the clay.
Yeah, right,
See
exactly.
that?
And after
Oh.
you're done, you never see it again.
Could you face that way a little bit? 'Cause
Which
this
way,
is
that
a
way?
I can
You
get
want
a
a profile, I
That's
getcha.
good.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyhow,
And I won't have to see it till it's done.
yeah.
And then, when I
We'll be-
watch the show later, I can see how you make it, but not until I
Right.
watch the show. And then once...
What-
this
I'll
is gonna
give it to you after I fire it.
Okay.
It'll be a gift for you.
Gift, you're not going to charge me, right?
I won't charge
It's going to be
you
worth a fortune after I'm dead, you know.
after I'm dead.
Right, both of us.
But I'm going to be around for another 30, 35 years.
And I'm going to be around for another 36 years, so it'll be cool.
My oldest student is 98, and I said, "You're not old until you're 100. Then you can say you're old."
So what do you teach now that as long as
I
we're
teach
talking?
sculpture.
Right, I know what you teach. Where?
Oh, I have a studio in Sudbury, connected to my home.
Okay.
And I teach there. That's one place I teach.
Yep.
I teach for the Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School.
Okay.
But in my studio. But if you look them up, you can see my art class. People find me that way. I have a listing there. Then they contact me.
Wow.
And then I also teach at the Boston Living Center. I volunteer every other Wednesday. I volunteer clay class, and the Boston Living Center is a wonderful place, part of Victory programs, and they provide services for people with HIV, AIDS and HIV.
Wow.
And they have food, they get free lunch every day, and they have art class, they have painting, jewelry, and I do clay class with them. And they're just terrific folks. And I love doing that. I've been going for maybe half a dozen years already. And I always look forward to the next time.
I better not let this fall into the wrong hands, or somebody might end up using it as a voodoo doll.
Right? You better not.
I know. I'm kidding. I think people would worship it, and I know I'm going to.
Well, okay, so you can still talk while you're
Sure.
modeling.
Okay. All right. Well, now that let's talk about what you currently. You just mentioned what you're doing currently in terms of teaching. It sounds to me like you're pretty busy with that. You just
I am.
Yeah.
I'm more busy creating sculptures.
Well, all right. Let's talk about what I want to talk about now is where has your work ended up in terms
Okay.
of big good exposure. You told me about a 1,500-pound sculpture that you did when we were on the phone the other day.
Right, that's at the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston.
Okay.
Part of Zoo New England. They have one up north. I can't in Stoneham.
Okay, yep, the Stoneham Zoo.
And but the one in Boston has gorillas, and they've always been one of my favorite animals.
Yeah, okay.
Gorillas and cows.
Gorillas and which?
Cows.
Okay.
But you don't see cows at the zoo, but you see them on farms. But anyhow, I'm
Well,
just
at least I don't see them on my plate because I'm a vegan. Are you a vegan?
I am not a vegan.
You're not a vegan, okay.
I'm kind of the opposite of a vegan.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
But anyhow, I have respect for whatever people choose to do.
Okay.
You know, whatever you decide to do or believe or think, it's a free
As long as
country.
you're not hurting anybody else.
Of course.
Well, my vegan decision is to lessen the pain of other living creatures that don't need to be hurt for my benefit, meaning animals slaughtered for my ability to eat, because they really don't need to be. That's my take on it, and I love what I eat.
What do you like to cook?
Well, Thai dumplings, olives, I eat them by the ton. Artichoke hearts. I take a pound of chocolate every day and 2 big smoothies that I make with fruit and nuts. And then for my protein, I either eat some meat substitutes like veggie burgers, hot dogs, bacon, totally meatless. And eventually I'm going to go to Burger King and try that new plant burger, because from what I understand, it is out of this world, and I love the commercials.
We have a guest staying with us now. His name is Edward.
Okay?
And he's a professional model. And he's been modeling for me for 6 years.
Wow.
And
Well, wait a minute. If he's been modeling that for you for 6 years, how many sculptures have you done of him?
well, the thing is, I do different works from him.
Okay?
And it hasn't been 6 years straight. Like last year, he went to the Emirates. He was gone for a whole year.
The which? The Emirate?
The Emirates. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you mean the Arab Emirates?
The Arab Emirates, because his daughter's husband is a professor at the American University.
Okay.
He teaches English, and she wanted to get her master's in psychology in
Okay.
Scotland. So
I've been
he
there.
said they have 2 kids, so he said he would help out with the grandchildren.
Okay, cool.
And I think she wants to go back for her PhD, which is a good idea for people in that field, because then they can run a business, analyze people, stuff like get paid for it. But anyhow, so he had to move out of his place in JP, and I told him he could store his stuff at our house, and he could stay with us as long as he wants. We have a lot of people stay with us.
You must have quite a house there.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Do you
But-
ever think of maybe opening a bed and breakfast in it?
No, because I'm too busy all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time.
I see.
I'm a sculptor, and my husband's a violinist. My husband also, he's on the board of the American Chestnut Foundation.
Okay.
And that's a group that is trying to preserve the American chestnut tree that died in the blight, most of them, in the early 1900s.
Huh.
And there's a group of people that are like very scientific, and he's planted thousands of chestnut trees. He has groves all over conservation land in Weston and Wayland and Stockbridge.
So
all
it sounds
over.
to me like chestnut trees were indigenous to western Massachusetts before they were...
I don't know that much about it,
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's one of those things I kind of get lost in the conversation. When they start talking about it, I sort of fade out, so I don't go to his meetings or anything like that.
Okay.
But I did help him plant maybe 75 trees when we first were going out. And let's see, now, do you want to face me now, Harrison?
Sure.
Oh, can you turn your chair toward me? That's good.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, so the chestnut trees, well, I don't know what I was telling you about that and him, but what was your question? Oh, about being vegan, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
But no, I loved, I know, my model, Edward,
He's a vegan.
he's a vegan.
Cool.
And he is dying to go to Burger King
And try the plant burger.
and try that.
Yeah.
He keeps asking me, when am I going? Like, we could go anytime. I mean, he has a car, he could go. But he has a lot of jobs now. He's modeling for Cambridge School of Weston, and
My parents wanted to send me there in the 8th grade because it's a private school, and they figured my grades were terrible, and they figured I'd get better attention.
You would have.
Well, I'm happy. I know I may have would have, but I would have had to have been away from home. I would have had to have lived on campus. No, actually, no, that's
They
not
don't
true.
have. They don't.
No, that's right. I
a
would
day
have been able to
school.
commute, but I wanted to stay in the, the public school system and, just eke it out, which I did.
Well, okay, so let's get back to where I have sculptures, because that reminded me that my parents wanted me out of the public schools.
Okay?
Because, I don't know, they always were afraid that people were a bad influence on me. And anything that...
Well, that's what my parents were too. But nevertheless, I mean, I was as bad an influence on them as they were on me, so
too.
we're even.
And my
Right.
mother would always say, not my Janice, she wouldn't do that. And so they put me into a school, Brimmer and May, which is a wonderful school. But I was very upset because at the time it was all girls, and I wasn't happy
I
about
wouldn't have
that.
minded that.
Well, I did.
Of course, that makes sense.
But I was in Glee Club, so I got to meet boys when we did Glee Club.
Okay.
And,
Is that when you met your husband?
No. I met my husband about 20 years ago. We've been married 6 years. And
That's
he's
kinda late in life.
I've been married 40 years, but to 3 different husbands.
Wow.
But this one is he's a keeper.
Cool.
As long as he doesn't change. That's what I always say. If you're still the way that you were when we got married, and you act as nice
You
and
guys about the
sweet.
same age?
He's 2 years younger.
Okay.
I would call that about the same age.
Yeah, pretty close. That's good.
And anyhow, my son was actually playing the violin, and my mother loved music. She played the piano beautifully. So does
Okay.
my sister does too. They both took classical, and I just took jazz, so they play better than I do. But anyhow, so she wanted to hear David play, my younger son. I have 4
Yep.
kids. And she said to me, I think he would benefit from taking private lessons. Why don't you ask your concert pianist friend Alan Barker who he should study from? So I did. I had this friend who played, and I'm friendly with his daughter. She's the last one remaining of the Barker family, I believe. Except there's a granddaughter too, and but not from her brother. But anyhow, so I asked Alan. He said, "Oh, everybody takes from Lucy Parker or John Emery." And I had a very dear friend named Leah Parker, late Leah Parker.
Yeah, yeah.
Fortunately, she's no longer with us. But I
Right.
picked the name Parker like if I were betting on horses. I'd pick them by the name.
Okay.
And so anyway, so we had Lucy Parker, and she was terrific. And then one day, so David took from her, and Casey was only 3. Casey, my youngest, who just had a baby a month ago.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. My 7th grandchild.
Wow.
I'm so fortunate.
Yeah, I would say so.
So she said she was terrific, Lucy Parker, and Brownie, her husband. He was another tree person. So he and John Emery my husband knew each other, but I didn't know anything about their background. I just knew that my kids were taking from her.
Okay.
Then one day she said, I'm going to. Before she said she was retiring, there was a recital at the church, the Unitarian Church, that we go to actually now. My husband and I. He went there as a child, but they had the recital at church, and she said, "I want to introduce my colleague John Emery." And when he stood up, I thought, he is the dearest looking man I've ever seen. He just is so dear looking. He's a really dear, nice person.
Cool.
And so, anyhow, little did I know, or he know, we ever would get married, because we were both engrossed in our families and marriages.
How many kids does he have?
2.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's how I met him. So, but he doesn't like me to say we met in church, because that gives a different meaning. Even though we were in church, I don't really quite get that, but...
Okay. Well, I always say everything happens for a reason.
What?
I always say everything happens for a reason.
True.
Yep.
So anyhow, but we didn't go out until like 15 years after we met.
Okay.
It certainly was not during violin lessons.
Right, right.
I mean, he had another girlfriend for 5 years, and we would go to different things at the museum together, but we were just friends. We never expected to end up together. But anyway, so when Lucy was retiring, she said, "Oh, I have some names for you." And I said, "Oh, I know who would like for a teacher."
Who's Lucy?
Oh, Lucy Parker, the teacher
Oh, okay. Yep.
that they both had. And she said, "I have some names." I said, "Oh, I know who we want for teacher, John Emery. And she said, oh, he's way too busy. He won't have time for more students.
Okay.
I said, well, could you put in a good word for me? Because she liked my kids and the way they played, and she liked me. So she said, sure. So that's how we kind of met. But we just were friends and never expected to ever, you know, get out of our marriages or anything. But things happen and things change. And like you said, everything happens for a reason.
That's right.
So anyway, so then when I got out of college, the first college I went to was Colorado Women's College.
Okay, in Colorado.
I had to do that too.
Okay.
My parents, they were very worried that I wouldn't grow up like a young lady.
Right.
They always wanted me to be ladylike,
Okay.
which is fine. It's not a sexist thing.
Right.
It's like a man can be a gentleman,
Right.
and a woman can be.
By the way, we're down to the last 5 minutes of the show.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I know. You got to make that.
Oh my God. Where does the time go?
I know.
All right, I better put some more hair on you.
You put some more here. You might want to fill in the holes in the back of my head.
Oh yeah. Wait, let me see the profile. I'll turn
All right.
all the way profile.
That way?
Well, you have to move your chair too.
Okay.
That's better. So anyhow, then I went to Boston University
Okay.
School of Fine Arts. It was SFA, now it's CFA. And then I got my master's at Antioch in education.
Okay, cool.
And
Where's Antioch? Is that Nova Scotia?
no, it's actually in Ohio.
Oh, okay,
I
right.
had a program through Harvard Extension, so I did that one.
Wow, I'm dying to see this thing.
Okay, well, could you turn the other way a little bit too?
That way?
That way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Well, let me see the side view again. That's better. I just want to get the profile better since what I'll do is I'll take some pictures after the interview and I'll finish it up at home.
Okay.
And then either you'll come to my studio, maybe you can do that.
I could do that.
And then,
I want to see how it looks now, though. I want to see if it's showing any resemblance.
okay, well, are we over now?
So, pretty soon.
Okay.
So, you got a couple holes in the back of the head there. All right.
That's not as important as
Okay, as long as the front. All right.
the,
Oh, there you go. Once you sew that up, I'll feel better.
okay.
Yeah, a little bit on top. Okay.
Okay,
I think, yeah, I like it.
it's starting to,
It is.
okay?
It does look like me, kind of.
Well, let me just see. I mean, at the beginning, it, takes a little bit of time.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's true. It does look like it
It's the start of
is.
you.
Okay, well, let's
Sculpture of you.
tell you what we're going to do. We're going to wrap the show up,
Okay.
and we're going to say, I want you to just say hi to everybody real quick that you're going to see it.
Hi.
Turn the sculpture toward the camera so people can see
I
that.
want to say hi to my sister Margie. Hi, Marge. Sorry you couldn't see this live, but you'll get to see it. And thank you for inquiring. And hi, kids, all my kids and grandchildren, and my husband, and John Emery, and all my dear friends, and Edward. Love you all. Bye.
Okay, folks, this is it. This is going to be me in a little while. It's getting as close as it can get. It's without actually getting there, but it's getting there. So, folks, thanks for watching Topic Time. More great episodes to follow. You ready? You don't need to do the tambourines. Keep sculpting away.